All right, once you got your profile done, it doesn't really matter if you use my exact formula. At this point, you should know how to create a rectangle and add constraints and edit the values to match what I have. This next demo is going to be about making a solid using standard and then thick. So under the standard tab in the bottom here, we're going to get out of this workbench called Sketcher. We'll exit that app and it'll put me back into the part design workbench. Because I selected pad when I did this, it's just already ready to do a pad. And the sketch is already inside this pad here for me. I can type in a length of 1 inch, preview that. I can reverse this direction, and now it's going the exact opposite direction. I hit preview to that. Or I can select this feature here, and that feature allows me to go in both directions. So I click on that. Now I'm going to create a block that's 2 inches thick. If I select OK, there's my block, and it's symmetrical about that axis system. If I double click the pad, I can always modify and change things. In fact, I could double click this value. It finds the value in the sketch and allows me to edit it here in the pop-up window. I'll select OK. You notice how it's shrinking because it's symmetrical. Select OK. Now I'll double click the solid and select thin, and I'll just hit preview just to see what it looks like. You see how the material is thin? Now, if you continue down, the length is 1 inch, and the offset or thinness of the solid is 0.0394, which is pretty thin. And it's kind of hard to tell what it's doing. So what I recommend is just edit the value to something easy to see. I'll change that to 1, for example, and hit tab. Do you see how it went inboard? So if I change this to 1 and hit tab, now you notice how it's going out. So thickness number 1 goes inboard, thickness number 2 goes outboard. You can have them different values. Thickness number 1, for example, could be a 1/2 inch, while thickness number 2 goes to 3 inches. If I hit preview, you see how it changed. You can see the light blue lines. This is the original profile I created. The 1/2 inch is from here to here, and then the 3 inches goes from that furthest outside line up to where that dotted line is. So that's what a thin solid does. What does neutral fiber do? If I select on neutral fiber, it's going to go 1/2 inch in either direction. I'll hit preview, and that's what neutral fiber does. All right, so these are pretty fun features and very handy when you have specific parts that are going to have something like this where you have a wall. All right, I'm going to change this to something thinner and go 1/4 inch and hit tab, preview that. So again, this was standard versus trim and thin solid, what thickness 1, thickness 2, and neutral fiber do.